So how can you create 10 YouTube videos in under or in 1 hour? It is possible. If you have a hard time getting consistent uploads on YouTube, then I believe this training is going to be super helpful and valuable to you as I break this down. And it's a framework that we have used at Think Media. But if we're meeting for the first time, my name is Omar from Think Media, which is a YouTube channel where we share the best tips and tools on how to grow your influence with online video and YouTube. But with that being said, I'm excited to get into this, but it is important to know this. The first thing that I want you to know is that it is possible to do this. I want you to know that. But although it's possible, it's not easy. However, it is smart. The way you're going to be able to do this, create multiple avenues of content, multiple uploads on your YouTube channel with one sitting in under an hour is possible, but it's not easy. However, it is smart. And I just wanted to paint that picture before we got into it. And here's kind of like my illustration. I'm an illustration guy, visual learner. This is a mothership. This is a mothership. Anybody seen Top Gun Maverick? Maybe movie of the year in 2022. But this is a mothership, and this ship is responsible for sending out multiple, vehicles or airplanes and flight, F-22s and stuff. You got little boats coming out of this thing. You got planes taking off and other planes coming in. But this is what I would call the mothership strategy of content creation, where you sit down once and you create multiple types of content from one sitting. If you're a busy person, if you have a full-time job, then this is a very strategic way to actually build a YouTube channel and brand, is by doing the mothership strategy that we teach. And so step one to making up to 10 videos in an hour is to start a video podcast / show. I think it's just one way to make you think of it. When you think about a show has a consistent schedule. When you think about a show has a consistent host. It has a consistent format. It has a consistent time it comes on. But shows show up. So I add that in. But the tip here is to start a video podcast. We're talking about a mothership strategy that'll help you create more content in less time. There's different ways to create content on YouTube. And as you see on the screen, here's 4 that I can, really, let you see. So we have 4 different content formats here. We have myself on the top left. This is what you would consider a vlogging format. We have Heather Torres from Think Media doing a talking head, but it's kind of more like your course creator / type, setup. And then we have Nolan on the bottom right. Who loves Nolan? He did the stream last week, but we have Nolan on the bottom right doing kind of like your wide YouTube talking headshot. And then we have Sean doing a live stream on the top right. These are what you would call content formats. I want you to think about when it comes to creating content, that how you deliver the information you're delivering on video could be done in several different ways. No longer do you have to think of vlogging as random video. No, vlogging is just a way that you're creating content. But in this training, and in this case, I'm talking about video podcasting. And I don't know if you follow a video podcast. If you're not aware of what a video podcast or a show is that I'm referring to, I'm referring to things like the Joe Rogan Experience. Does anybody watch this podcast? This one is a very well-known, probably the top video podcast that I could think of. And it's kind of crazy. I grew up watching Joe Rogan on Fear Factor, and the fact that he's like taking over the game when it comes to podcasting and his influence it's pretty insane. Another really well-known video podcast / show would be The Ramsey Show. This is Dave Ramsey and his team, where they teach financial literacy and financial freedom through their show. They sit down once and they create content, and then that sitting is responsible for multiple videos and multiple uploads that they use on YouTube as well as various social media platforms. Another person that maybe you are aware of is Gary Vee. We have the Ask Gary Vee show. This is where Gary Vee, creates or sits down. He takes phone calls just like Dave Ramsey, but you could see that there are these players that are actually doing the very thing that I'm kind of teaching you right now. And maybe you're like, and Omar, that's kind of, those are like the pro level people. They're like, there's no way I can do stuff at their level. Well, I would say an up and coming, person that's doing this really well is someone, this guy named Ruslan. He has about 200,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel, and he has essentially a live show that he has for a little bit over an hour. Actually, he'll go live, but from that, he'll pull multiple pieces of content and then be able to have multiple uploads because he planned it all up in advance. And we actually do this too. We have the Think Media podcast. And if you're not subscribed to it, but if you want to go deep on like really the best strategies to build like a business around a YouTube channel, I would encourage you to subscribe to our podcast wherever you consume it. But this is essentially what I mean by step number one is just to start a video podcast. It doesn't necessarily, I don't want you to limit your thinking in regards to it being, it has to be like your mics have to look like this. You have to use Shure SM7Bs. No, you could use lav mics to start a show. You can use any way. It's more or less the thought process in the way you're creating the content. You're showing up weekly and you have a consistent schedule, a consistent format in the way you deliver the content and what have you. But so this was me and Heather sitting down talking about how to go full time on YouTube. And, maybe you're having a hard time thinking about how you can fill up an hour's worth of content. Here are some video podcast ideas. And I always teach this, like when you're watching a show, like if you watch a late night show like Jimmy Fallon, or if you watch whatever show that you watch on like television, in all honesty, it's kind of the same thing. They have different segments where they cover different things, or maybe they play a game. And so the way they fill up that hour is very creative, but it's also entertaining because it's changing it up. And you can actually do it at whatever level you're in. And so here are some ideas when it comes to some things you can cover in your video podcast. The first thing would be covering current events or hot topics, things that are going on in your industry, in your niche, in regards to the world that you're trying to, provide influence and information to. Cover current events and hot topics. Is like literally just doing your research on what's going on currently could totally give you something to talk about. Another thing you can do is you can do some Q&A. You can actually in advance, maybe on your Instagram, you go on your Instagram stories like, hey, we're going to do our show and we're going to be answering some questions. Submit your questions and we'll answer them on our show. Maybe you actually do it live. So we're actually going to be doing live Q&A after this teaching portion. And so, I would encourage you, if you're watching right now on the live, go ahead and put your questions down in the comments because we will love to answer your questions when it comes to YouTube, content creation, gear, editing, anything. We will be so pumped to answer those questions. But similarly speaking, you can do the same thing. You can also do interviews, bringing on guests and talking about maybe subject matter experts in your field. Maybe it's people who have done something that has a great story to tell. And so interviewing them is a great idea to implement into your video podcast. You can do React content where you actually, bring on videos or things going on in culture that make sense to your industry and just react to it. It's funny how like Mr. Beast, at the level he creates content at, with his main channel, he actually has a React channel. And the reason they do this is because it's such an easy way to create content, because they're not having to come up with the content per se. They're just providing the commentary to the content. So just think of it that way. Maybe you don't think of it like live streamer reacts and all that funny stuff. It's more or less kind of, can you provide commentary on something going on social media in your industry or what have you? Another one that we're going to be doing later on in this live stream is Overrated Underrated, where you could take, maybe things people think is important in your industry or niche, but actually bring some value in regards to how you think about it, in regards to it being overrated, underrated, which I'm pumped to do that after this as well. And then you can also do testimonial, where let's say you've done something, maybe you've been able to accomplish something and in your business or niche, and you sharing that is a form of a content idea. Like, here's how I made this much money in this much time in my first year of real estate. here's how much this person was able to do that. Like when you can start thinking about sharing stories, it's great. People love stories. People connect with stories. But here are just some ideas. This isn't to limit you. This is just to give you a kind of like a framework to be able to plan it as this next tip. Not necessarily a step, but this tip is that planning is everything. Like when it comes to a video podcast or a show, all the time is spent planning, because once that camera goes on, it's showtime. And when it comes to your planning, you're going to essentially plan in these segments. You're going to plan in, you're going to maybe know these questions that you're going to answer. You're going to know these current events that you're going to cover. And so it's important to really take the time to plan, because prior planning prevents poor performance. That's a lot of P's. But if you want this to be a streamless live stream or a streamless video podcast filming, then you want to make sure that you plan with all these segments intentionally. And so that is step number one, is to just start a video podcast / a show. Step number two is to film or stream your show. Film or stream your show. You want to make sure you stay on schedule when you actually hit record, or when you go on a live stream. And speaking of streaming, we are using StreamYard, as we are on StreamYard, to actually broadcast to you wherever you're watching this, which is just a cool even concept. Like I'm at home in my office, and we have a ton of people from all over watching this. It's pretty powerful. But if this is something you would like to get into, live streaming, then you can check out a 14-day free trial at streamwiththink.com, and we'll put a link to it down in the description below. But one thing I actually love about StreamYard as well, if you actually go in and invest into their like legit level, is you can use it as a recorder. So you don't necessarily need to live stream, but if you like to use your computer like I am right now, I've got a separate second monitor sharing my slides, that I can actually record a presentation, record a reaction, record an interview, and like do your video podcast using StreamYard. And so if you wanted to check that out, that is available to you. But it is important that you actually sit down and you film your show. And it's important to know that you are filming this show with the intention to do more with it after it is filmed. So again, I just want to encourage you, stay on schedule, know what you're doing. Don't fall off the rails too much, because then it's going to mess with the opportunity to be able to do more with this one sitting of creating content. The next step number 3, is to then take that recording or stream and create multiple videos from it. So based off of how you plan that 1-hour show will allow you to then take multiple videos from it and then upload it to YouTube. This is how you actually can create multiple videos in one sitting. It's just a very smart way to think about creating content. And if I could just be honest, I don't like to lie to people when I'm teaching stuff. If I can just be honest, if I had to start all over, like if I'm starting from scratch, 0, this is the strategy I would go with, because it's the strategy that rewards my time the best. It's also the strategy that's easiest to create, because more or less I'm just reacting to content. I'm just commentating on something that's going on in my space or my industry. And so seeing what Ruslan was doing and seeing what the big dogs are doing, it's a very achievable and possible format to create content with. And I think it's just very smart. So you're actually going to create multiple videos from it, and then you're going to just repackage each video. Each video you're going to upload to YouTube. You're going to give it a fresh title and a fresh thumbnail for each video. And you'd be surprised that if you actually take on this strategy, this Mothership strategy, this video podcast strategy, you'd be surprised that those clips that you actually take out, because they're just a little more specific, they'll actually and potentially perform much better than the full length 1-hour video that you're going to upload. So you get one upload with the actual full hour episode for sure. And then you get the 5 to 10 based off of what comes out of that sitting and based off of what you planned on. But a lot of times we have found that it actually is possible to get more views on those shorter videos. And we actually are practitioners. We don't just teach this stuff. We talk, we do this stuff. And one example we did like last year, our entire team sat down on a couch, and for 45 minutes, we just went through the various things that are underrated or overrated when it comes to YouTube and content creation. That was just a 45-minute time of sitting down, and we were able to create, I think, around 7 to 9 or 10 videos from that. And it was just a cool way to fill in our schedule of uploads with not doing too much work, just simply taking out the segment from that conversation and then uploading it. And so something we definitely do. Me and Nolan did this recently. We did a video podcast on our podcast channel and on our podcast where we talked about the YouTube algorithm changing. And in that 30-minute conversation, we were able to pull 3 to 5 different uploads to go put on our main channel, but just a very smart way. We sat down once, the cameras only worked once, and then we were good to go. And so I would encourage you to actually try this out. I think it's totally possible that you can do this at whatever level you're currently at. It just all comes down to planning. Step number 4 is to just repeat this consistently. I said this earlier, but shows show up consistently, like rain or shine. Like even when the host on the late night shows gets sick, they have someone stand in, and like just their commitment to showing up consistently is very key. Just because you do this once doesn't mean it's going to work. And it's also not just the super easy way to success. I just think it's the smartest way to create content, right? So although it may not be easy, I know it'll be worth it because anyone would love to create more content in less sittings, right? We no longer are the days where you just sit down once and you only make one video from that one sit down. That I think that'll actually burn you out, especially when you're balancing a full-time job or what have you. But just get a schedule down where you can repeat and show up consistently as shows show up. And I have one, I want to break down this quick bonus tip that I think will actually blow your mind in regards to getting way more views around your video podcast. But if you're getting value, be sure to hit that like button. And also put down in the comments any questions when it comes to YouTube. We are starring those comments so that we can talk about it after this bonus tip. And so with that being said, the bonus tip is this: syndicate your show. As Gary Vee would say, squeeze the crap out of, and he would probably use a different word other than crap, but squeeze the crap out of this 1-hour show. And you could do this by literally putting this everywhere. And this is what is called syndicating, is when you upload in one place essentially, and it has multiple avenues. And so let me just break this down on a visual standpoint. You're going to sit down and shoot a 1-hour video podcast show that you're going to plan. You're going to shoot content, and you're also going to record the audio. Maybe the audio is being recorded to your camera. That's perfectly fine. You're going to then upload that full conversation on YouTube as it is, as the full length podcast. In this sense, this was a 24-minute conversation I had with Heather. The whole thing got uploaded to YouTube. You can then take moments in that podcast, like I mentioned, and upload those other clips. Let's just call them highlights, or let's call them, sub clips, I guess you could say. So we're going to upload these micro clips, these sub clips, or these highlights onto our YouTube channel, now getting us to maybe over 5 to 8 videos on YouTube. We're going to take the audio of that podcast, okay, and we're gonna upload it to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. This you can find a place where you upload one audio file and it goes everywhere people listen to podcasts. Again, it's a different medium, and you'd be surprised how much people are actually doing video podcasting nowadays, and then how much listeners they're getting. And so again, now not much extra work when it comes to creating the content. It's just uploading that audio file to get it out there. And this is totally underrated hack when it comes to podcasting. You can upload, those segments you create too. So if you created sub segments or those highlight clips, upload that audio to your podcast, and then you show up consistently on your podcast platforms, and people would appreciate you for it. I think so, because maybe you don't want to consume the whole 1-hour thing, but I'll consume this 10-minute, tip on how to get my first 1,000 subscribers in a month, right? But that was just a section from my sit down. Then we're going to take those clips and create vertical videos. And this is what I did from this conversation with Heather. Like, notice the amount of views I got on these clips in comparison to the YouTube video. I think the YouTube video got a little over 15 to 20,000 views, but just each clip got around, 20 plus thousand views. This one's 16. So collectively, because we did this strategy and I did all the numbers, we got 64,000 views from this one-time sitting. 64,000 views. And I would just be honest, we've been building the podcast slowly, but like, had I not created the micro content, I would have lost out on some more. Or that was just 64,000 views on just reels. That's not counting the other 15. So close to 100,000 views on a conversation that we did, sat down once, and then was able to actually create content in other spheres. And that is how you create up to 10 videos in 1 hour. I know it sounds more easier said than done, but it is possible for you to actually get it done, as people are actually doing this, and you see it from our examples as well. But I hope you got value from that, and I appreciate you being on here. We're so excited to get into some comments. I'm going to bring up my trusty co-pilot, going back to the Top Gun reference, we got Nolan Molt in the house.
What's up? It's Goose. Hey guys, dude, Omar, that was incredible. There are amazing comments so far. I wanted to highlight a few of those, and there's some really good questions that I want to hear what you have to say about this. But first of all, Square Table Degenerate said, I did this with a short talking about repurposing one of their interviews, and the clip has 3 times more views than the actual interview itself. It's still getting 30 views a day 5 months later. I thought that was pretty cool. There are some really cool questions, but first I want to acknowledge Think Media in the chat. We got Sean here. Okay. So say what's up to Sean. He's in the chat. And then also just a couple of people I know are loving it. So make sure you're dropping a comment, hit the like button while you're at it. We are going to be doing some underrated, overrated, and YouTube questions. But before we get to that, there were a few questions on your presentation that I think would be amazing for you to answer right now. So let me go ahead and pull up this first one, which is from the Creator Classroom. And so actually this was just another thing, but maybe you could even touch on this. Yeah. We've done this where we encourage people for our transition at the end of the clip to go watch the full podcast. Is there a strategy with this, Omar, that you would say? How can people do this effectively, and maybe kind of explain this process?
100. So the way you can do this, well, it is important to note, like, the chances of your actual full-length show getting even discovered is really high when it comes to the shorter content that comes from that. So, with more people watching, like TikToks and Instagram Reels, you'd be surprised that that's how people are going to actually discover your video podcast. And also with those shorter highlight clips, right? But I would encourage you that when it makes sense to send people to the full length thing. So we've been doing that the last 3 or so weeks, I think 4 weeks, on our Think Media main channel. On Tuesdays, we're actually uploading a small portion of a talk that was given at our live event video, Grow with Video Live. And whether it was Sean, Gary V, Alex Hermosi, or Patrick Bet David, or anybody else, we're just taking a small portion, uploading that small portion on Think Media, and then we're like framing it up. We're like, whether Nolan, myself, or Sean will shoot a separate hook for that moment. And then at the end of that, or even in the middle of that highlight clip, we are sending people like, hey, if you want to check out the full length talk, you can check out that free full length talk by clicking or tapping the screen, or check it out on our podcast channel or anywhere you watch podcasts. And if people, a lot of times when they get enough value at like the 5 to 7 minute level, they're more inclined to actually listen to a long form content, or wherever they can go deeper. And that's just a good customer journey, or even you could say viewer journey, or consumer journey, that wow, this 5 to 8 minute clips, that was very valuable. I can only imagine how much that 45 to an hour talk was. And so that's kind of how I would say you would effectively do it. I wouldn't encourage you to always, like on your Instagram or your TikTok clips, your vertical videos, just always say, hey, if you want to watch the full thing, you don't have to do that all the time, just because, you're just trying to serve the medium in which it best serves the viewer, right? So if you're always trying to push to the full length always, then people are going to be like, all right, dude, chill. But nonetheless, It is possible that you can do that. And we do that at Think Media.
Would you say then, because it can be annoying, especially with short form content, to be plugging every single video. People don't want that, and it'll like hurt in the algorithm and whatnot. You know, people are just skipping your videos. So would you say maybe for someone who finds your content, Omar, and they're scrolling through, would you add that into the description and maybe link in the bio, where it
100.
says like check out my podcast, or
Right.
is that kind of, would that be
Yeah,
the
that's
gameplay?
how I would. That's how I would encourage you to do it. And
Mhm.
I mean, I feel like I can really quickly pull up an
Yeah.
example from Gary V real quick. So we got this very not try to push this. Dude, I love this. So this clip on Think Media got 74,000 views, which is way above average than our traditional, upload viewership. And this came out about a couple of weeks ago. So you have myself kind of introing people to like, because it's a brand new face, maybe on Think Media, maybe people don't even know who Gary Vee is. So I'm just sharing the context of what he's kind of talking about. But then toward the end of the video, when we give you the option to like tap into the full length, and then also you can check out the full interview here. So this is like one practical way we're doing that. And here's the full length kind of conversation Sean and Gary had. And even this is doing really well. But like, this is what we would call, and I don't mean to lose you with this terminology, circular video virality. This is when you keep a viewer in your world. And remember when I talked about planning is everything? This took so much planning. This took, intentional, scheduling of videos and intentional scheduling of getting people to do certain things. But we thought about it in advance, and then the execution is kind of what you just saw. So that's kind of just an example of how it could be done at a very consumable level, and I would say like a very effective way. But if this clip was on our Instagram channel, I mean, maybe one time we can promote the full length thing, but people know that they can go do that. They're more smart. They're more smarter nowadays. So if you're posting consistently on other social media platforms, they'll know to go deeper if they want to.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I love that. And it's cool to see the effect that that clip
Oh
on
yeah,
our channel has,
for
just
real.
really blown up kind of that as well for us on the podcast. We do have Sean here dropping some underrated, overrated that we're going to get to here in just a second. If you guys want to hear some thoughts on, if you think something is overrated, underrated, drop those in the comments, drop your YouTube questions. But first, a couple more quick questions. We can do a little quick fire round based on this whole thing. A lot of good questions are coming in. Kind of I think stuff that a lot of people are wondering, which would be, aren't people going to ask the reason for why you're wearing the same clothes from the last video? What are your thoughts on if you take a podcast and you put it in the clips, and even if you're posting it every day, does that even matter? What do you think, Omar?
I do think this question is based off of looking into it too deeply. Personally, I've never thought that. I don't know. I'm like, because there's so much content that, like, you'd be surprised that not everyone who follows you watches every single piece of content that you create. So if you're showing up for a little bit like a season, let's say let's say you're showing up every video for a month wearing the same thing. I don't think people are gonna be like, you're wearing the same thing. Like, now if you have like this obnoxious setup with clothing and stuff, maybe, but for the most part, I think if you're wearing very basic clothes, and that's why we like to keep even logos to a minimum when it comes to like when we're creating content. I'm wearing a Think hat intentionally to plug in some branding, but if you look at last week's live stream, I don't know, it's still Omar. I'm still taking up 75% of your screen on my face, and so I don't think people would think too much of it. I wouldn't get too caught up in that kind of detail when it comes to having to change clothes and stuff like that. I just keep it simple and just maybe,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm on the same page too. And I always, when for me, I like overthink stuff like that. And so I always just ask myself, I'm like, do I care if my favorite YouTuber is wearing the same exact t-shirt in every single video? And I'm like, no, I don't care. So, you can always put it back and ask it that way. Roger thinks this is brilliant, Omar. So he's loving it. Another great question is, how can someone register to Spotify and iTunes if they don't have a podcast set up yet?
I would encourage you, if you want like a legit free course on how to start a podcast, YouTube search podcast Think Media. Let me pull this up, and I would encourage you to follow our our playlist where we like literally Heather breaks down the entire process to doing this. Let me try to find that actual playlist here if I can find it. If not, just go on here, go on our channel, Think Media. Here we go. We're going to playlists, and you could find that right here. The boy's
Yeah,
struggling. How to
I'll
start and
drop a
grow a
link
podcast.
too. Yeah, I'll
Boom.
drop a link.
So yeah, this Heather breaks it down from like start to finish when it comes to, signing up an Apple, getting some sort of syndication, platform, whether it's, SoundCloud, Buzzsprout, there's tons of them. But check out this, and we'll put a link to it in the description after this, as StreamYard's helping out too, putting that playlist. That's a free course on podcasting if you're looking to go deeper with this stuff. My bad, Nolan, you're muted.
There we go. Someone's asking, how can they apply this to my fashion/beauty channel? And then let's just also make this wide. You can put it in the comments. What kind of channel do you have? But basically, if you're a fitness channel, if you're fashion, beauty, fill in the blank, how can you practically kind of apply this to any niche that you're in? And I think it goes back to your video ideas, like what you talked about. But I guess
I would say it would start with just thinking a little bit, I guess thinking about yourself differently. Like if you could just think about yourself as a source of information for your industry or niche, then your ability to talk through certain things kind of like, or your creativity, it opens up the arsenal, right? So if you would see yourself as the person who is providing how to achieve great looks and trends at a budget price, and you're just speaking into that industry or that niche, then you can review products on your video podcast. You can talk through, like, I bought the expensive version and I bought the cheap version. Kanye West is going crazy over Yeezy versus Adidas. Like I know this is just so random current events, but things that I stay up on, right? But this is just your approach is maybe the unlock is this. Just think of yourself like a newscaster, and your video podcast show is where people are getting the source of information. So that's how I would do it. Like I would still, if you wanted to break, if you wanted to do a haul inside of your video podcast, I think that's totally fine. If you went thrifting and you were like, I'm going to break down this thrift and then I'm going to take on some questions, and then I'll be talking about this super cheap, eyeliner that I bought on Amazon. It has the most views or the most, rating, and we're just going to see if it's actually like legit. This is just all in your 1 hour sitting. And so that's how I would help. I would think about it and how you can apply this for a fashion beauty channel. Just know that there's no rules here. Like, I don't want to limit your belief or limit your thinking, but just the place you start from does help when it comes to, like, I'm just a source of information. And so therefore I can give that in any way, shape, or form.
No, that's amazing. I think a lot of people too, when they hear stuff like this, they're always trying to think, how can I make it work for myself? And so, yeah. And also, do your own research too, and see what other people in your specific niche, what they're doing. If there is someone in your niche doing a similar style, and how you can do that. I think all that is great. We got some underrated, overrated coming up in the next couple minutes, but we also wanted to actually, know what we could do. Let's transition into underrated or overrated, and then we can end the call with the live stream with a little bit of more Q&A if people have more questions. But first, I want to give a quick shout out to StreamYard. We're happy to be here. If you don't know who we are, my name is Nolan Molt. This is Omar. We are Think Media. And so we have a YouTube channel. You guys can go check us out. There's going to be a link in the description. And we post the best camera for YouTube, how to grow on YouTube. Basically, if you're just trying to make it in the creator economy, you want to grow on YouTube, then you definitely want to follow us at Think Media. But Sean, who is the founder and also a content creator at Think Media, dropped a really good underrated, overrated question that I'm going to pull up right here, because actually, oh yeah, I got it right here, which is starting a YouTube channel in 2022. And we can even say starting a YouTube channel in late 2022. Is it underrated? Is it overrated? Maybe we could both answer this one, Omar, but I'd love to hear what you have to say. What do you think? Overrated or underrated?
I definitely think it's underrated. I think as I'm watching the world of video and social media evolve, the platforms are creating avenues on ways that more and more people could be involved, and even the numbers for like micro influencers and people who have, 6 figures of income using content creation, that's just growing. That pool of people is growing. And it's because the algorithms are in favor to getting more people seen and discovered if you approach it right. So I would even say at our level, like, it's so funny to say this, but we want to start more channels because we see the opportunity in doing it right. If you start from zero and you kind of go about it the right way, you'll be rewarded probably very quickly because you're just playing the rules for whatever platform. In this case, you're playing the rules for YouTube at this point in its, age, I guess you could say. So I would say it's totally underrated because there is huge opportunity still. And I
Yeah.
always like to say YouTube needs you.
Yeah, no, I am total agreement. It is completely underrated, but I also want to add, because some people, when they hear something's underrated, they think it's easy, and it's not that it's easy. It's that I think people assume YouTube is so hard. They're like, it's
Right.
easier to grow on TikTok. It's easier to grow on, and fill in the blank. But the truth is, like what Omar said, there is a huge opportunity, and we're seeing people every day continuing to start brand new channels and grow their influence through YouTube. And YouTube's been here for a long time and it's not going anywhere. The creator economy in general is booming. And so I am completely optimistic for starting a YouTube channel in 2022. Completely underrated. I think you should do it. If you're on the fence, jump in, just get started and start messy.
Hey, and shameless plug.
Yeah. Ooh.
No, yeah. So
YouTube secret.
this is YouTube secrets. Okay. How about reading books? Totally underrated. If you're a reader, this is an updated version of YouTube secrets that just came out a few months ago. Sean and Benji Travis. So this is a great reason to get like good foundation when it comes to starting this year. If you want to start, or if you want to start right, or what have you. YouTube secrets, shameless plug.
Is it tubesecrets.com, Omar? Is that the official place where they can go?
I guess that's official. You can go on Amazon, search YouTube secrets,
Yeah,
and
just get the book. It's really good.
yeah.
That's awesome. So we're going to jump into another overrated, underrated. Feel free to keep throwing in those comments. We see them, but I do have a couple. We have the audiobook available also if you like to listen. So underrated or overrated. Let's knock a few of these out real quick, Omar. I'm curious on your thoughts on working from home, specifically as a creator or a creative. What are your thoughts on if it's overrated or underrated?
I think it's totally underrated to work from home because there is so much time, especially if you live in like metropolitan cities, or if you have a drive. I think it is case by case also. So I'm saying for me, I think it's an underrated concept. The ability to create content from the place you reside, and not even to go too deep, and you need to consult your tax professional, but like the tax benefits, if you're really actually like building a business around your YouTube channel, it actually is pretty sweet to like do some some things that you can write off, like the chairs that I got, the little furniture I got, the lights, anything I do in this space, I can write it off. And so it's taught me a lot more than just the idea of working from home, but it is also just being able to create something from this place. But I don't encourage it for everybody though. Like some people need to leave their house to get to work because you'll get too distracted or what have you. But I've learned in the last 4 years that working from home is a totally underrated thing. I actually, what's overrated? What's overrated is working at a coffee shop. I used to think like that was the thing, is like, go bring your laptop to a coffee shop and work. But it's like, no, dude, it's too distracting for me, at least. So I think for me, I think it's totally underrated working from home. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. At first I kind of struggled because I'm ADHD. It was hard for me to focus and find something that worked for me. But like now that I've found my groove working from home and then also working out from home, those two things save me so much time for commuting. And I think going to a coffee shop can be nice for the coffee. But at the end of the day, like if you can just sit at home distraction free, I feel like I get so much work done when I work from home. So I absolutely love it. So the next one I want to ask you about is Nikon, because Nikon is kind of it was big. It's a very big camera brand. And so we're talking about the camera brand. If you don't even know what Nikon is, you got Canon, Sony, Nikon would be up there with these big names. But in recent kind of days, I would say that Canon and Sony have kind of been more of the YouTube cameras, and we cover a lot of YouTube cameras, and Omar covers a lot of the cameras on Think Media. But Nikon actually, I think they've been sending you some of their cameras. They've been sending you some gear. What are your honest opinions on Nikon? Because 5 years ago, I'd say completely overrated. I know some Nikon fanboys, but I'd say overrated. But at this point now, Omar, is it overrated or underrated?
I believe with this newer camera they released this year, Nikon is now an underrated camera brand when it comes to a camera that could be great for creating content with. This is the Nikon Z30. Let me that's just a lens I got on there. The Nikon Z30, it's a crop censored camera that shoots 4K, okay? Shoots 4K, has incredible stabilization. The colors are great. The autofocus is great. I wouldn't say it's like the best, but like great autofocus. I've been playing with this camera for about 3 weeks or so, and I think it's phenomenal. Like, you know, if you're in the market for about an 800 or so $1,000 camera, or $8,000 camera, that's overrated. $800 camera. The Nikon Z30 is awesome, and I'm seeing a lot of YouTubers actually tap into Nikon nowadays, which is cool that they're getting their foot in the door. And more than that, just like actually made a great camera to get started with. And I would actually deem that camera probably the best 4K vlogging camera for beginners, because the ZVE10 from Sony doesn't have the best stabilization. You got the M50, but doesn't shoot real reliable 4K. So Nikon's coming with it, man. Nikon, underrated for sure.
Dude, I'm excited because anytime there are more opportunities, or options is the better word. Anytime there's more options, I feel like, prices get lower, you get better features, and just overall, as being a YouTube creator, to see more camera brands really focusing in on this like YouTube niche that is pretty niche. I mean, it's awesome. And so I love that cameras are really thinking about us YouTube creators and figuring out how they can make the best cameras that kind of fit all the needs that we have. We do have some questions coming in. Someone asked, I can't find it, but they were like, do these guys answer questions? Yes, we do. We're gonna get to that. We're gonna answer your questions. Right now, we have a few more overrated or underrated. And then right now, actually, if you guys drop those YouTube questions, right after this, we're gonna get into your specific questions that you have for growing on YouTube. That is what we do at Think Media. We work with a lot of students. We study the game. We practice what we preach. We experiment with stuff. And so however we can help you guys, we'd love to answer those questions. So start dropping those right now. And we're going to do overrated, underrated. Actually, Sean dropped a bunch of them, and I would just love like very quick rapid fire for this. Ready for this? First one, coffee. Underrated, overrated?
Underrated.
Underrated. I love it. YouTube stories.
I guess underrated because nobody's doing them. Like, but I don't even watch them. So
Yeah,
what would you say?
I would say I'm going to say overrated because I don't look at them as much, but I don't have enough information to make a true like guess on if it's underrated or overrated. They might be underrated. Who knows? YouTube Shorts. What do you think?
Dang it. I hate to be that guy, but I think it depends. You like the thought of it like being your quick and easy way to fame. That's totally overrated. Like YouTube Shorts is not that. However, it is underrated if you crack the code and kind of do it right, which we're even still, experimenting at Think Media. So
yeah, I'd say underrated as well, because Tom has been basically, so the guy over the YouTube discovery algorithm, he's been talking a lot about it. They're going to be implementing shorts, integrating them into long form content. So I don't know. I think they're underrated, but a lot of times I think they're overrated
I
too.
mean, dude,
Because
somebody
of the
texted me
studio.
recently and said, they were Googling something like, how to get started on YouTube, and one of my shorts actually ranked in Google search, which was kind of powerful. Just saying.
That's sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of potential there. I think we're just kind of on the beginning stages to see what can happen. But that's awesome. Last one, because it is iPhone day, which Sean, it's Apple, not Apple, but it's all right. He's got a baby, newborn baby, so he's probably doing this on one hand. But Omar, is the iPhone underrated or overrated for content creation?
I think the iPhone is completely underrated for content creation. I think sometimes we just get too distracted when it comes to creating content, and that it has to be done on a fancy camera and all that stuff. I actually wanted to prove a point. Like Omar, the guy at Think Media that talks about all the best cameras for creating content. I bought the cheapest version of an iPhone last year. I got the iPhone Mini 13 with the 2 lenses, not the 3 lenses. This doesn't do ProRes RAW and all that stuff. But I've shot, I think around 10 to 15 YouTube videos since then on this, and uploaded it to Think Media, 2 million plus subscribers. And I would say it's totally underrated. And, if it's worth actually investing in a newer one, just because the ability to be able to actually use it at a high level. And I want to pull up this video I actually made last week. You'd be surprised. I shot this on an iPhone. Like, what are we even talking about? It's 2022. I shot this on my iPhone. Not that part. Don't be fooled. This part right here. Right here. Like, what, dude? I plugged in a mic into it as well. And heck, man, iPhone Mini 13, y'all. No excuses. iPhone, totally underrated. And I'm sure Androids are underrated too, if you like Androids. But if you're an Android user, you can leave this stream immediately. I'm just kidding. I'm so mean.
Yikes, we're gonna have some people
No,
upset. The creator classroom, he might be leaving the stream. I get why y'all are freaking Apple lovers, but no, just no. I feel like Apple is one of those things where like you either love them or you hate them. It's like sushi. I feel like people either love sushi or they hate
I
sushi.
love sushi.
It's just one of those things. This is what we're gonna do for the remainder of the stream. Is we're gonna be answering your YouTube questions, and so drop those down in the comments. But the first one that we want to cover is right here. We have a question coming in from Weird Dude. And this question is that a couple of his videos went viral in February of 2021, and it got 150,000 views. It got 400 subscribers. And now he's starting again and committed, but the videos he's posting now are not getting views at all. And I think his question is, why is this happening? Is it my channel? Is it the videos? But what are your thoughts? This is something we've seen before, but what would your advice to be to someone who saw success and is not getting views anymore on YouTube?
Great question. I think that there's a lot of people's, are probably struggle with this, as they'll upload a video and you don't plan on it going viral. Most people who have a viral video didn't actually plan on it going viral. Like, that has happened in our world. I would encourage you that the goal isn't massive views. The goal is to consistently show up. And so I would help, it would help you if you took your attention off of the outcome of your videos that you're creating and put your intention on your outputs. And the amount of videos you're actually uploading in regards to consistently, like showing up once a week or what have you, that you can achieve. And then over time, a video like you experienced last year in February 2021, I think could either have helped or hurt you because of 2 reasons. The first reason your viral video could have hurt you is it could have been viral in the wrong subject matter. Like, you could have created a video that has nothing to do with your channel and it went viral, and now you feel like you need to build this whole influence on a video that doesn't make sense for actually the channel you want to create. So I would encourage you, like, you can just clap it up for having a viral video, but if that is the case, don't worry about it. Just, move on and start building out your YouTube channel. The second thing about this is maybe it does line up with your channel's value proposition and it's a perfect alignment. Well, then in that case, it brought new people to your world, but they didn't see you show up for an entire year and a half. And so, I mean, like, you could essentially count it as almost like a loss in that regard. Because people subscribed to you a year ago on a video that YouTube served them, and then you had nothing for them. You had no journey for them to go down, as there was no content on your channel. So I would say that would be my I don't know if that's all that helpful, but I think just talking about and exposing what actually happened here is really important. But you're not trying to go viral. That's not like the goal. That shouldn't be your goal. And this is a term that we teach, as of late, kind of recently, is I think it's VFM, and that means viral for me. So rather than the idea of viral being, this concept where you get a ton of views, like 1 million views and all that stuff, more or less, if you made a strategic video that served the right audience and it caught fire in the YouTube algorithm, but it made total sense with your business and your value proposition of your YouTube channel and the show that you created, then that means you did go viral. Like you had a viral video per se, right? And so I would encourage you to just focus more on your outputs rather than the outcome, and you won't be as frustrated at the results, because you can't control that, to some level. You can't control people coming back all the time, but you can control showing up on a weekly basis.
Yeah, no, that's really, really good. Good advice. What are your thoughts, Omar, on if someone is kind of maybe they're experimenting, or I could see this person too, like the video that went viral doesn't align with their channel now. Like it's not in the same niche. It's not the same category. It's just kind of a video that popped off and it's getting views. What would your advice to be? Because something that I would tell someone is like, as hard as it is, you sometimes like, you have to be thinking long term. And if you're like, it can be tempting to follow that thing that has traction, but it's like, if you already know that you don't want to go in and do that anymore, don't go back and start doing that just because someone's praising you for it or because someone's interested in it. And so it's actually a really hard thing to do. But
Oh yeah,
if you
I'm
agree with
reminded.
that, what's your advice?
If you could backtrack, anyone you think in the social media sphere that's gone viral, the first one that comes to mind right now is the cranberry juice guy riding on a skateboard, Mexican dude. And then you go, and then, dude, he was, constantly trying to like go do too much, and it was like, bro, it's played out, bro. So I don't think anyone has actually done it. You can't. It's not like possible, I think, to just like stay living in your viral thing. And here's my advice to you: is getting the right views is better than getting the most views. This is why I love helping real estate agents with building a YouTube channel, because they're always discouraged. They're like, man, I'm getting no views on my video. Like, well, what if one of those 30 viewers ends up being a customer and buying a house from you, and that that house is $1 million house? You're making 30 grand off of those 30 views. So I think it's just just like Nolan said, playing the long game. Like this is a pillar of one's business, is your YouTube channel. It's just a top of funnel. It's how you meet people. But getting the right viewers is more important than getting the most viewers. And you wear yourself out trying to get more viewers, get more viewers. And so there's a tension to be managed in that regard.
Yeah. Yes. Booze and Chill commented that it sounds annoying being known for something that's not your niche. If someone were to ask if they should delete that video, part of me says like, yes, if you're never going to do that again. But at the same time,
if you unlist it, you
yes,
maintain the
then you still have it. But
Yeah.
honestly, I kind of think you don't even need to delete it anymore, is what I would say, because YouTube is so smart, and they've even said that they judge each video specifically. So if you have a video that is popping off, you could, let's say it actually does go viral, you could make some money. And though people are finding your channel through that video, yes, those viewers probably aren't subscribing to your channel because that's not what you post anymore. But at the same time, I don't think it's going to hurt your channel. It's not going to hurt the algorithm because YouTube like separates them, knowing it's for two different audiences. So you could just leave it up. But yes, that can be really annoying. Omar, we got a question which basically is asking kind of for some, if someone wants to start live streaming eventually, what would be kind of the best gear to get started or the best tactics to get started? She has an old Mac and then a new iPad and phone. So what would you, should she get a camera to connect it to her Mac? Should she use, just the webcam on the iPad, the iPhone? What are your thoughts for getting started gear wise, doing a live stream?
I think if number one, if you have a camera laying around and you want to get into live streaming and you have a camera laying around, like you bought one in the past, a lot of people don't know that you can actually use that camera as a webcam. Like what I'm doing right now, I am using a Canon M50 as my webcam and it produces a really good look. That's if you have an older camera laying around. There's so many ways that you can go about that. Now, if you have an iPhone, you can actually use your iPhone as a webcam. And if you have an older Mac, I know the newer Macs allow you to do this without even like any software. But if you have an older Mac, there is and if you can actually YouTube search how to use your smartphone as a webcam for free. And I think Media's video will show up. It's a 5-minute video on how you can use this. And if you have a good source of light, whether it be a window light, a ring light, or a softbox or what have you, this camera will look really good as your webcam. Okay. So, and when it comes to the camera, if you have an old camera laying around, figure out how you can actually use it as a webcam. If not, you're going to use your smartphone as a webcam. And that's Omar's crop cut from 2020 that I am not proud of. But this video got 1.7 million views and I'm not mad about it. So, but yeah, you'd be surprised how good the iPhone looks when plugged in. And you can actually also make it wireless, which is crazy. You can like vlog your live streams with your smartphone. Okay, so we got the camera dialed. The next thing I would actually recommend you to invest in is a good audio solution. And so when it comes to like the machine that's live streaming, I still think your old Mac should be fine, especially if you're using something like StreamYard. If you want to sign up for 14 days for free, check out streamwiththink.com. But you're going to use your old Mac to live stream. As far as the machine goes, you're going to use a camera or your smartphone as the camera or webcam of your live stream. But then I would invest into a good microphone, and those don't have to be all that expensive. There's a mic called the Samson Q2U. And that mic right there is about $70, and you could plug via USB into your MacBook, and it sounds phenomenal. It sounds like you're on like a radio broadcast show for $70. It comes in gunmetal and black. So those are the like just bare minimum I would have you start. I think you can get started today for about $70. Granted, you find something that holds up your phone and things like that, $90, but buy it used. So that's how I would get started with a live stream. If you have the capabilities to do it on your YouTube channel, you don't need to buy a new Mac. You don't need to buy a new camera. You just need to get a good audio solution that I think would make your audio sound really good.
Boom. That is, I love it. Great answer. And again, on Think Media, Omar, you've made videos like on all these questions.
Yeah, no, for
So
sure.
let me share my screen, because guys, if you just go to Think Media, go to our YouTube channel, what you can do is see this little search bar right here. Literally just type in, let's say you want to find, some live stream videos, type in live streaming. You're going to see playlists, videos. You can see Omar has made a ton of these. We even have StreamYard tutorials. And so we have everything that you need. If you're wanting to start a podcast, like how Omar was talking about in the beginning, just type in podcast and check out some of our videos here. It's strategy, it's tactics, and it's also best gear to use, best budget gear, how to start with no money, the best professional microphones, all that kind of stuff you can check out at Think Media. But as we wrap this up, we have one final question. Actually, it is not necessarily a question, more so overrated or underrated. But I feel like this is the perfect way to end this live stream, because you started off talking about video podcasts and you said that we could make 10 videos in 1 hour. But is it too saturated? Is it worth doing right now? Is it overrated or underrated, Omar?
I believe video podcasting is totally underrated because not many creators are going into their content strategy with the video podcast Mothership strategy in mind. And like I mentioned before, although it might not be super easy, as I don't even think creating content, generally speaking, is just easy, but it is very smart. You get to sit down once and have multiple avenues of content from you sitting down once. And so if you would identify yourself as someone who's busy, then video podcast would be the way to go. But even if you have a lot of time, then you can make your video podcast better. But I definitely think it's a content format that is completely underrated.
So I know I said that was going to be the last thing, Omar, but we just got in the comments Dexter, who is a pastor. And if you don't know, Omar is actually a pastor in Las Vegas. And I just feel like you would want to answer this pastor's YouTube question, because this guy is in the Caribbean and he's basically just asking for some advice for growing his channel. And also, Dexter, in the comments, let us know, your YouTube channel, is it about ministry, church? I'm assuming that's what it's about. But Omar is a pastor / YouTube creator. I feel like we couldn't let this guy's question go without letting you see it first. So yeah, I mean, any advice that you'd have for Dexter?
All right. So Dexter, I believe that your church YouTube strategy should be as simple as this. It would just be serve your congregation with your YouTube channel. Don't limit the YouTube channel's use to just your Sunday service live stream. I think this is the only way churches are using their YouTube channels. And then they're super active on other social media platforms. But like, dude, YouTube is a great place to create, 5 to 12-minute videos that will feed your church, right? So I think the mindset is just treat your YouTube channel like an actual YouTube channel, right? But have your congregation in mind in regards to how you create your content. So, I think here's a couple ideas. One could be, for the next 4 weeks, every Thursday, we're uploading a 8-minute video going through the book of Ephesians. So you just commit to that. You can sit down once, shoot that whole thing, but you can release that on Thursdays or Wednesdays, midweek or something like that. And then, it's for your church. But, if you learn strategies from us, if you actually learn how to like position your videos and you have good titles and thumbnails, then I wouldn't be surprised if your videos actually took off, although all you were trying to do was just educate your church, right? But I think it's just the mindset. Start using the YouTube channel as a place of serving your congregation. And I believe over time, you're going to build an archive of very educational, spiritual growth content that will serve beyond your church. But the goal wasn't in the first place to reach the world. The goal in the first place was just to reach your congregation. And so that would be my strategy to you, is to just actually start posting more consistently on YouTube other than your Sunday service. That would be my kind of my advice to you in regards to using your YouTube channel for your church.
That's awesome. And one thing to add on to that too is like, YouTube is a search engine, and find out like as a pastor, I'm sure you get so many questions from the people in your church. Make videos on that question. Like, where should I start reading in the Bible? And you make a video on that, and that could be one of your uploads. And like Omar said, you're answering a question for those people, but there's people all over the world who want to know those answers as well. And so that's a great strategy. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, thank you so much for tuning in, guys. It's been such a fun time. We're going to be back next Wednesday to be going live on the book YouTube Secrets. We're going to be covering the 7 C's that get broken down inside of that book, and how you can use this to help grow your YouTube channels in 2022, going into 2023. We're excited because there is a lot of opportunity with YouTube. And so we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in. Catch you in the next one.